Ask you problema.
Look at that!
Wow.
Belmo.
Episode 3 of Over the Cap. Welcome back, everybody. Mike Val here. On a rainy Tuesday night here in New Jersey, we're a little bit late tonight. We have some scheduling conflicts. But once again, joining me this evening is I guess he's going to be known as John Verlander tonight. So, listen, I want to open up tonight with a rant about the Mets before we start.
Go for it.
So, I'm glued to the baseball channel. I have it on because it's the best time of the year. Can we all stop worrying and thinking that Justin Verlander is the answer for the New York Mets right now? He's not. He's not. If you're going to spend $86 million on this guy, he's not the answer. He's not. They have to go out, get one more pitcher, and then the Verlander deal looks good. If they do nothing for the rest of the winter, this is a very Wilpon-esque trade or signing for the Mets, rather. All right? Now, along with that, go sign Brandon Nimmo, John. Seriously, can we go sign the best center fielder or the best leadoff hitter in baseball? Yeah, we're not Verlander. I don't need to have two cripples or two fossils pitching a game in Atlanta on September 30th that could potentially mean the division, and they're 40 years old and they can't walk to the mound where they have an IV pole going to the mound. I can't do this. I can't have two fossils pitching with my life on the line in September, and they're going to get booed off the mound in October, and they're making $43 million a year. I can't do it. I can't do it. Can't do it.
I appreciate your rant. I guess the only saving grace is at least we replaced arguably the best pitcher in baseball with one of the best pitchers in baseball, and at least deGrom went to the American League.
Yeah, but
if we're going to look for a positive.
Oh, here's a positive. The Philadelphia Phillies just signed Trey Turner for 11 years. That prick's back in the NL East. And
yeah, but isn't he already 30 years old and he's not allowed to leave that contract, right?
He's locked in for a while, but he got out of Washington, so I was kind of happy that he went to the Dodgers, and now he's in Philadelphia. Oh, I'm sorry, Philadelphia. Sorry. And
yeah, so he's already 29 years old, so
and I have to watch him bat behind or in front of Bryce Harper and Realmuto and all those guys, and it's God Almighty. But the saving grace for the Mets this year, they did re-sign that guy.
Thank goodness.
Oh, what is he going to do? Seriously, he's a walking sizzler, for Christ's sake. What is this guy going to do?
I think he adds a little bit of pizzazz to the Mets lineup. Personally, I mean, he defies all laws and like this is what you have to do to get to the big leagues. And I'm just going to do it this way.
You used to work at the sports book. Give me a line on this guy stealing a base in his career. Plus what? Plus $5 million?
It's up there. On like just a standard, or are we talking like wild pitch pass
ball?
No,
I mean like he gets the
defensive
sign.
Indifference.
No.
It beats it out.
How about a hit and run? What are the odds of that fat bastard stealing second base?
I'm gonna go with. I'd go with in a lifetime, in an entire career.
One stolen base in his major league career.
So this means the catcher has to make the attempt to throw him out, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd go with plus 20,000.
You got a better chance of Jesus Christ walking off the cross than this guy stealing second base in a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah, it's not very good. Not very good odds for Mr. Vogelbach.
No. All right, that's my Met rant. I got
like
one other rant that so you gave me a thing that, a pet peeve of yours from bowling last week. How about this one? I bowl a
Okay.
King of the Hill Friday night. Small little
Okay.
King of the Hill. The handicap and a scratch division. So there's 2 handicap bowlers on my pair. Both bowlers probably average no more than $1.90.
Okay.
The left lane in practice drops the 2-4. So it sets up the 1, everything else minus the 2-4.
Okay.
You get 5 minutes of practice before you start the tournament. Guy reset the machine, took a full rack.
No.
Yes. He's a 180, 185 bowler, 190 bowler, 5 minutes of practice.
Oh my God. Was he right-handed also?
Oh, he was right-handed.
Oh my God.
So he reset the lane to get a full rack and then proceeded to get like 4 as he reset the lane. So a waste of a cycle, a waste of probably 35 seconds to watch him get 4. Oh, by the way, because we bowled on a sport pattern, he bowled a nice like 480 for his 3.
I'll simply say, without getting on the guy's ass too much, I'll try and give him a little saving grace here. His ignorance to the game, I don't think he was deliberately doing it to piss you off.
Correct.
Obviously,
I agree with that.
you feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like, to me, whether you're competing, I'll give you a prime example here. I play golf. I probably play, let's just call it 100 rounds of golf a year.
Fair enough.
Mike, I've broke 80 legit, and I'm talking if I hit one OB, I'm hitting 3 off the tee. If it's a 3-inch putt, it goes to the bottom of the cup. I've broken 80 2 times. Two
Okay.
times. Which, by the book and the standards of most hack golfers that I've played with in my life, you don't really find many golfers that are better than that play recreationally.
Mhm.
You know, some of your buddies say, let's just say Rusty Thompson or like a
Mhm.
Greg Tobias, just to name some household favorites. Like,
Yeah.
I expect them to shoot 72, 75. A really good round shoot 69. I expect it.
Mhm.
I also would expect somebody like a Rusty Thompson to maybe play in a local tournament here and there in golf. I would never consider, even at this point in my life, playing in a golf tournament, no matter if it was handicapped event or not, because I'm still ignorant to a lot of the rules of the game at the professional level because I only do it recreationally.
Mhm.
I've gotten good enough to enjoy the game, but not nearly good enough to go out there. And like the fact that these people don't realize what they're doing when they're doing that's the thing that irks me about the guy
Yeah.
who resets the rack, is because they're going there without any information on what they're supposed to be doing to start. So what intentions they have while they're there and en route to screwing up everybody else so they can get their experience is just mind-boggling to me.
It's a different story. Like if you go up there and ring a 7 and you want a full rack, I'm okay with that. But if the machine drops a couple pins and then you reset the machine for a full rack in 5 minutes of practice, that's just stupid.
Yeah, it's again, no. If they have no idea that it's even a thing,
Yeah.
how are they even gonna? They're not
True.
instructed that it's a thing. So
True.
it's again, it's not their fault in that respect, but it is their fault that they got it that far to begin with.
And it's something we can make fun of it afterwards. So it's a good story for us
Totally.
to make fun of.
You should go
All
up
right.
to him and say, while you're at it, guy, why don't you put your towel in your back pocket while you're bowling? Like or something stupid. I mean,
So really quick before we get to the topic at hand, I want to recap one other event from the weekend. This is probably going to touch home for you. The second annual Mike Marcus Invitational was this weekend at Chaco's in Pennsylvania.
yep.
I don't know if you saw the results of that or not.
I did see the results, and I actually have Steph Sheridan, one of the hosts and organizers of the event, as a guest on Straight Up 5 tomorrow night to go over the entire event. So that's pretty cool.
I can't think of a better guy to win that with Mike's name on it than John Fury.
Oh yeah, man. Him and Shea Bittenbender winning it last year. Those are two absolutely perfect people to win the inaugural years of Mike's bowling event.
Yeah.
The turnout, the names in that field, I think they had like 120 players or something like that. It was so awesome. It's again the only reason I couldn't make it home this year was because of my back problem.
Yeah.
I wasn't vertical until like 2 weeks ago. So unfortunately I was kind of screwed out of going this year, but I'm definitely going to make sure I get there next year.
Yeah, it was a great turnout, and couldn't think of a better person to win and take home the check with Mike's logo and Mike's name on it than John. That's a two of the same people right there, and John is just on a little bit of a run too right now. He he won something up in, I want to say, upstate New York a couple weeks ago, another big check. So John's on a little bit of a heater right now, and
John's always had it. He's always been around the elite, and now
yeah,
he's certainly he's figured out a way to blossom into what he is. I don't know if it's the fact that he's running that shop all day every day by himself, if he's mixing it with giving lessons to the kid and in the Bones training facility in the same building.
yeah.
The fact that he's just, just like anything else, man, you keep digging your head and banging your head against the wall. Eventually, it's going to put a dent or make a hole in that wall.
Agreed.
And John, everything that he does in his life it surrounds the game of bowling. He spends his weekends bowling regionals. He spends his weekdays coaching and giving lessons and drilling balls.
Yeah, he is bowling in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
That's the perfect modern day ambassador of the sport of bowling. People, we need more John Furies in the world to help save the game of bowling. I think that's a great way to say it.
Agreed.
All right, so we've did our states thing. We got off that. We went off on kind of a tangent on other things. We made lists, me and you, this week.
Mm-hmm.
This one should be good. We said we're going to come up with the top 10 telecasts in the history of the PBA. So I have 10. I don't know how many you have.
I have 10. I looked at our lists. We have a couple that are the same.
Yeah.
So we can at least, and you and I can probably elaborate on one show for 2 hours. So
yeah, I pride ourselves at being two of the greatest bowling minds in the world.
We are up there.
Probably behind Litchie.
Yeah, Litchie, Larry Stella.
Oh my God, yeah, Darren Andretta, Lenny Nicholson. I think our age group were probably the smartest ones out there bowling wise. You want to start with 10 and work our way up?
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
So I would give you the floor first. You want to have you want to have honors? I'll give you honors.
Yeah. I'll go first.
So number 10, Johnny's list, number 10.
So mine are going to be in no particular order here, but
okay.
But I'll try and make them in order.
Well, give me your first one, then I'll give you one. We can compare them. Want to do that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds fair.
The 1997 Touring Players Championship, and yes, I just said touring.
Touring.
Because I live on the West Coast and they make fun of me for saying touring out here.
Yeah.
The 1997 Touring Players Championship.
Now, was that the one in Pittsburgh? That's not the one Albee beat Parker, is it?
No. This is when Steve Hoskins ran the ladder.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was the first show where they had noise in the crowd, right?
Yes. And it was at Fun Fest Entertainment Center in Harmerville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, right outside of Pittsburgh.
Yep, you are right.
So why is this one making the Johnny list?
Okay, so I've obviously, whether it be bound by contract or just bound by last name, I've always basically had to stick to Brunswick bowling products since the time I was competitive bowling. Mm-hmm. So from the time I was 10 years old, from my Mickey Mouse ball and my Superman ball in the 6 and 8 pounds, once I got to 10 pounds, it was Rhino RE and then the Quantums and the Zones and so on and so forth. And there was only a few years stretch in my entire bowling career that I've thrown other products. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, in my early teens, so again, I was born in 84, so a lot of my picks are from, say, 95 to 2000. Mm-hmm. What happened on this show for me was it wasn't that I was nuts about the constant clapping, number one, but it was new and it was different. And because it was the first time they ever did it, the crowd was like really super duper electric on that show right out of the gates. Number one, you're in a great bowling town, Pittsburgh area, that whole belt right there up in north and south, that whole area geographically is really, really good for bowling. But other than that, Steve Hoskins is bowling Doug Kent in the first match that game. And Steve Hoskins was throwing a Triton Heat, and it had the biggest splash on the cover. So it was that maroon ball with the gold lettering, and it had the sparkle in the cover. But there was like a splash of white where the pour like exited the bowling ball, and you could just see it dripping down the ball. And it was I'm not sure if it was synthetic heads with wood back ends or just all wood, but the lanes were not easy. And Steve Hoskins, from the very first frame on that show, and he did run the ladder. He won all 4 games. From the very first shot on that show, he is electric pumped. Like he strikes and the crowd.
Are you able to see this?
Yes, absolutely.
See, I'm learning how to do this.
Come on, now, come on. Let's go.
Point proven.
A little emotion from Steve.
So now what happens on that show is you've got some real big celebrities in the crowd. You got Jerome Bettis from the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting in the front row, avid bowler. Yep. And Hoskins just kept that intensity for the entire 4 games. He never, ever, ever faltered. He never labored. Every time the crowd got a little quiet, he got them back up. He was so interactive with the crowd, and the fact to be able to be elevated that high and not hit lows over the course of an hour and a half when you're competing for that much money against the best in the world, I just thought it was really, really trippy to watch, especially at 13. And the ball was so pretty.
Yeah.
And on that show, other than Doug, he beat Doug Kent like 250, 240 the first game. And then he bowls Dave Arnold, Brian Voss, and Danny Wiseman, and none of them have a prayer against Hoskins. Not even a prayer. And he made that ball look like it was the second coming of Christ, like it was 1992 with the Excalibur all over again. So for some reason that one always sticks out in my head. That show.
Is there anybody more boring to watch than Dave Arnold on tour?
Not many.
No,
not many. I mean, no, not many.
All right. So
nowadays, there's a lot of guys that are about as boring as Dave Arnold, but nowadays it's cool to be like that. Like if Dave Arnold was young now, he would fit right in.
Yeah, he'd be a superstar right now. Personality.
Totally.
Nothing against Dave Arnold, but he wasn't very exciting to watch back in the day.
No, absolutely not. He had a beautiful game, but
very good.
He didn't curve it. He didn't speak much.
He never clapped his hands ever. He was like a cinder.
I think we have one show where he actually goes. Maybe once, because
he led the Teosita one year. He split in the 10th to lose. He showed no emotion. Like if you split needing a mark to win Tournament of Champions, I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that show was $60,000 and a new boat for the win, and 33,000 second.
He didn't.
It's a pretty big frame, but anyway.
All right. So 97 TPC.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you my first one.
Okay.
I'm going to go the 2008-2009 season.
Ooh, whoa, all right.
Yeah, I actually put these in order of how I ranked them. The 2008-2009 Bowling Foundation Long Island Classic.
I remember it well.
Yeah, was that the year you got into the PTQ, or was that the following year you got into the PT? No, you got in the following year, right?
Nine. The year that Zeisig won. You're talking about the dual patterns, right?
Correct. Yeah, this is Belmo's first title. I think the reason I put this as 10, this was the world's first glimpse of Belmonte. Everybody had heard of him and heard what he can do and what he can, what he was. He never got the light on the PBA tour. This was his first ever show. I believe was his first ever show. Yeah, and dual patterns, and he threw a plastic ball on the short. So if that's not showing you how versatile this guy was, or this guy is, I don't know what it is, but this also showed the world, hey, I'm not just the amateur guy that, won all this crap all over the world. I'm here. I can compete. So I give the first one, Belmo's first title is my number 10 on my list.
That's a good pick. Not to mention it was a great show, and pretty sure hometown favorite Mike Fagan led that event too that year.
Yep.
And that's a great pick for the top 10. And to get to see Belmo, I mean, what he is now in such a short period of time, coming from 08-09, to watch him just murk plastic, that white see-through Belmo ball in the right lane. And then to get inside the fourth arrow with a high road on the left lane and throw it over the front part of the lane. Mm-hmm. And after hearing all the stories of how much he annihilated them and all the uproar of all the tour guys saying you keep giving this kid commissioner's exemptions, and then you put half the amount of oil on the lane and this and like everything under the sun they wanted to do and say to kind of take it away. And now here we are, and he's going to undoubtedly go down as the greatest bowler to ever walk the planet. It's just a matter of time now.
He's rewritten the record books. I mean, and he's not going to stop anytime soon.
No. You know, it's funny is they always talk about, like, the haters will say, oh, they bowled so many more games when it was the older PBA. I'm like, the guys nowadays are lucky Belmo doesn't have 42 games a week. If he had 42 games a week, his first 12 games of qualifying, you wouldn't even know he was bowling the tournament because he'd probably just be fucking around figuring out what he's going to do in the last round of match play.
Every night squad, you're not beating him. You're not beating him on the night block on Friday night. There's no chance you're touching him. All right, so let's go to number 9, John. Give me another one.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 1997 Florida Open.
Ooh, that's the arena show.
That is the arena show. And that is in my top 10, because 1997, my dad was 50 years old.
Yep.
So he had just started on the senior tour, and he bowled the Florida Open. And on that show, they also had, in addition to the regular guys, the younger guys, they had a senior head-to-head match on that show, which was Gary Dickinson versus Dale Eagle.
Yep.
So due to time constraints, what they did was they only aired the top 4 on the TV show for the men. But the 4th and 5th seed bowled each other in the arena off air before the show. And my dad finished 5th on that show. Which was God.
And that was all the guys were 3. There were 3 Hall of Famers. It was Weber, Voss, and Parker to lead the tournament. And then Dad was 4th.
I'm sorry, Dad was 4th.
Yeah, Dad was 4th. Dad was 4th. Dad was 4th.
That's correct.
And that was the one where they put up $1 million if you shot 300 in the title match.
Correct. And that's what makes it my favorite. First off, at that time, again, going back to the balls that I couldn't throw. On that show, I mean, I had a combat zone and a tracer at that time. So I was already knew Parker would be throwing that. So that was cool. But Dickinson and Voss were both throwing the Columbia Outrage, that beautiful gray silver.
Yep. A gray thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the gray pearl thing.
Oh, and then one of my favorites coming up from Weber.
Yeah, well, I'll get there. Eagle was throwing the original 3D offset, which was another ball that everybody wanted.
First ball I ever shot 300 with.
Yes, sir. That's right. I knew that. I remembered that.
Yep.
And then, of course, my guy, everybody knows my Blue Thunder story. Pete is throwing the Blue Thunder and, of course, gets into the title match and starts with the front 7.
Pete had that like a scorpion on, too, on that show.
Yes, he did. And that 8th frame, he sent a messenger in front of the 10-pin. He kind of made a motion to the crowd like somebody may have opened their mouth early. With Pete, you never really know. I mean, a turtle could have farted at Sam's Town, and that could have been what distracted Pete Weber.
Very true.
But that show was extremely memorable to me, simply because of, like I said, with Dad, the arena was cool. They were using the head and lane surface.
Which that surface was great. Oh, that surface
always reminded me of you bowling at Memory
Lanes. Yep. Yeah. Oh man, great building that place was. And Weber won probably like $80,000 that day.
Yeah, he had a big day on that show.
That was it was almost 50 for first, 50 or 60 for first, and he won the challenge match
for another 25.
Yeah, that was a big payday for Pete.
That was a huge payday,
and that's kind of when he just turned the corner. Like he just got back, learning how to bowl at the Resins again. That was the year Weber, like he came out of the grave. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he makes the show, the opening event of the year at the AC Delco in Lakewood.
We'll talk about that one later, I'm sure.
Well, after they interview him on the sideline, the last thing he says is, "I'll be back again next week." And sure enough, you saw him at the showboat the next week.
Yep.
And he just continued to make show after show after show, coming back and joining Storm.
Yep. He learned how to bowl again. All right. So I'm going to give you my number 9. This was I'm going to go to 2005.
Okay.
Now, this one has a little bit of significance because this is kind of where the gender barrier got broke. When the PWBA folded, or the LPBT, whatever you want to call it, folded, right? the women were allowed to bowl on the men's tour, and they could bowl the PTQs, or they got an exemption, or whatever you want to have it, right? And they would get their exemption. I'm going to go with the 2005 Banquet Open in Grand Rapids, Michigan. That was the first time a woman ever made a telecast on the men's tour. And Liz Johnson was in the opening match with her big curly fro at that time, throwing a vertigo.
I was just going to say a vertigo. I remember it.
Playing like 9, like she always. There's nobody better. There's nobody better in the world than Liz Johnson playing like 8, 9, 10. I'm sorry. There's nobody better.
Nope.
And she bowled Wes in the first match. And if I remember correctly, she needed the first hit to beat Wes.
Correct.
And she dead pure at the shot in the 10th. And then she got into the title match, and she bowled Tommy. And obviously Tommy beat her, snapped her off for the title, but she finished second. I think that was a very, very important show in the history of the PBA. Because it proved that the women can bowl with the guys. Her, Kelly, Michelle Feldman was bowling at that time, CDB. That was a very important show, I think, in the history of the PBA moving forward to what they are now. So
it's a good pick.
That will be my number 9.
I like it.
How about give me number 8?
Well, since I already mentioned it, I'm going to bring up the 97 AC Delco.
That's on my list, too.
Yeah. Well, we can share our reasons why it's in our top, but being that it's my number 8, again, man, most of my nights when I was in bed at that age, 13, 14, I would put in a bowling tape on VHS to go to bed. And there would be 3 or 4 shows on every tape. And for some reason, that AC Delco show, I don't know if it was because all the commercials were cut out, like it was just made properly where I didn't have to fast forward, rewind, but that show showcased pretty much every bowler I've ever aspired to be all in one show.
Now, for people that are watching that don't know who was on the telecast, I have it pulled up here. You want to talk about a murderer's row? This is, in my opinion, the 5 greatest, the best field, stepladder field there was that I've ever seen. And we'll show everybody who they are. Are you ready for it here, John? Because I know you know who they are, but let's.
Of course, I can tell you what they're wearing if you want.
We all could. So let's take a look here. This is the 97 AC Delco. Who's on the field? Who's on the show, John? Can we see
We
it?
have Pete Weber.
Here
And
we
Mike
go.
Colby is match 1.
Here's your outstanding field of 5 pros. The 5th seed is a PBA Hall of Famer after his 26th career title. From
25 titles in the opening match. 25 titles right there in the 5 seed.
Yep.
Battling him in the opening match is a 22-time champion.
22 times. So it's 47 titles in the opening
From
match.
St. Anne, Missouri, Pete
That is
Weber.
correct. And this is only 1997.
Yes.
All-time earnings leader from Stockton, California.
So he probably has about 25 as well at this time. So there's 70 titles roughly.
The semifinal match features a 11-time titleist, 4-time sports.
Wow, Parker only had 11 at this point.
At this point, and we'll talk about. We'll look at the tournament
And
later.
our tournament leader has 4 titles.
Only
all from the
4
top
for
seed
Couch.
from Claremont.
Now
Look at how skinny.
Listen to what Schenkel says.
84 total titles.
84
Bowling
titles.
for lots of money, a $300,000
All right, 84
total.
titles in the field.
Yeah, and that's obviously a way more now.
Yes.
I mean, add 22 just to Parker, add 23 to Walter, and add 19 to Pete.
Yeah, and Couch has what, 18 now? Couch
Yeah,
has 18, something like
and
that?
Couch.
Yeah.
Yes.
Over 100 and change right there. And if you really want to be more technical, there's close to probably 400 career titles on that show.
Definitely with
400
seniors.
regional. Well, yeah, I mean, figure Walter's 130, I think, career titles.
It's crazy up there. I don't even know exactly.
Weber's over 100. Parker's around 85, I think he said.
He's up there.
Yeah, Albie's probably close to 50 or so. I mean, my God. So
the one thing I really, at this time, again, because I'm partial to Brunswick, as you all know, but
yep.
The one thing that Brunswick always did right back then is Brunswick had always coordinated staff players and make sure that if there were multiple Brunswick staff players on the show, that no 2 of them ever wore the same staff shirt. So on that show, what I loved, so I always loved when multiple Brunswick guys or multiple sponsored guys from any company would be on the same show. And I would get to see, who's throwing what this week. So on that show, Albie is wearing the Danger Zone shirt. He's wearing the gray shirt with the black and white stripe, and he's throwing a DZ2.
Phenomenal ball.
Walter Ray is throwing a Combat Zone, and he's wearing the gray Quantum shirt. Parker leads the tournament. He's wearing the Combat Zone, or he's in second. Yep. He's wearing the Combat Zone shirt, and he's throwing a Black Ice. So
one of his favorites. Favorites.
When you add to fact that Pete Weber is throwing a Lightning and wearing a Blue Thunder shirt, and Couch has the wolf slit on his shirt, and he's throwing a red wolf, and he's just throwing pins everywhere. I thought it was not only a very colorful show with great matches. I mean, the first match, Pete bowls a big 250. Albie bowls a good game. The second match,
with a grind
Walter Ray had the match over, but uncharacteristically leaves big splits in the 8th and the 10th.
Yeah. Pete
gets up out of nowhere and throws a double to shoot 2-0 and win.
And absolutely go berserk when he does it too.
Absolutely, yeah. And then the next game, I think Pete was like, I can't believe I threw the double last game. I'm certainly not going to beat Parker this game.
No, and Parker flagged the 7th pin to start the match.
I was just going to say, and Parker was still trying to figure out a way to lose because he was on his losing streak up until that point still.
And that's what I wanted.
Consecutive shows.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. For me, I think, look, Parker was great before that. That show started Parker's career. I know that sounds crazy. Was he already had 12 titles before that show? But that show in California, I think that show absolutely made Parker Bone the third.
I think so too.
He won there. He makes the show the following week at the Showboat. Bowls 299. Runs the ladder.
Bowls Pete in a rematch in the opening match.
Yep. And then he beats Walter for the title. Walter needs the hit to win, leaves the bucket.
Yep.
That show, I will go to my grave and I will say this to him all the time. That show absolutely started his career to what he is now. And he was great before that, no taking it away from him. But the 97 Delco absolutely made Parker what he is.
Speaking of the 1997 Showboat, I think that's going to go down in history as the greatest armpit sweat show of Parker's career also.
Oh, yeah.
That was like
he was damp.
I can't believe if Parker didn't notice. I can't believe somebody else didn't say it to him, even after the first game, like, hey, Parker, you got another 25 minutes minimum on national television. Would you like a black or a white shirt?
Can they change their shirt on the show?
Why not? What if
I don't know if are they allowed to?
What if it rips?
I don't know. I don't know if they're allowed to do that or not. That's an interesting question.
I think that would be okay. But anyway, I always remember that show.
Those were two really good shows back to back. Weber was completely out of lane by the time he bowled Parker.
Yeah, he virtually started in front of the ball return in match 1.
Yeah, he threw a couple in the gutter. But Parker, that show absolutely turned Parker's career around. Like he was going to be a Hall of Famer regardless. But if you look at the splits from 97 forward, or past 97, Parker was the best lefty in the world. He just dominated.
No, I want to agree with you here, but I want to make something perfectly clear to your viewers if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
When you say it made his career, I think I agree with you in the respect that it made his career blossom even more.
Yes.
In other words, from there on, Parker wasn't going to be the guy that loses 8 consecutive shows.
He was not getting snake bitten anymore.
Right. And so in other words, Parker would still have 20 titles if that didn't jumpstart his to 35 titles.
Yeah.
Comparatively speaking, and I'm going to say this because I say it all the time and I just don't care because numbers don't lie. Sport bowling made Mike Scroggins' career.
Absolutely. 100%.
Because Mike Scroggins had 1 PBA title prior to sport bowling where he bowled 170 in the title match to win, and that was in 1992.
Against Mike Shady.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Sacramento. 100%. All right, so I'm going to give you my number 8.
Ooh.
So I'm going to cross off my AC Delco. That was on my list, too. I'll cross my AC Delco off. I'm sticking in the 2000s again. I haven't gone into the 90s yet or the 80s yet. I'm going with the 2011 Tournament of Champions.
Oh, this sounds like you're sticking with your changing of the guard or your re-entering of the LPBT. Oh, no, wait a minute.
No, it is not.
Never mind. I got it.
This one is
Wrong year.
There's two things on this show that were pretty significant. First of all, this is the $1 million prize fund. So first place is $250 for first, and I believe second was $100 if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct.
So Smallwood led the tournament. He's guaranteed $100K. Mika wins the Tournament of Champions for $250,000. Let's introduce Tom Doherty in the second match on national television. Tom Doherty proceeded to bowl the lowest game in the history of television, bowled 100. The same game Mika decided to bowl 299. So to me, it's kind of like it's a big swing because you have Mika winning the biggest first place prize in the history of PBA Tour, and you also have a guy who bowled the lowest game in the history of the PBA Tour on the same show. That's mine for number 8, and I don't think there's anybody. And I've heard the stories from like Barnes and those guys. There was nobody better than Mika when there was a 6-figure payday available.
Yeah, Mika knew how to bowl for the big money.
Oh my God, he did.
Knows how to bowl for the big money.
I think Mika's one of the best shot makers I've ever seen before. And
definitely.
He always took the fronts out of play. He had that loft from, in Finland. But my God, like he won the Super Hoinky for 100. He's won numerous checks from what we've heard overseas, bowling 300 for 100K. 250 here. He is fantastic. He's one of the best bowlers I've ever seen before. He really is.
I agree.
So
he hasn't changed much over time. I mean, even watching him on old World Team Challenge videos, his game is basically the same. Just time. Everything gets a little bit less bendy, but all the lines are still exactly the same.
Yeah, a little lower swing. And what people don't realize is after that, Jeremy Domingo chiming in here, Mika got that ball renamed to the Mission 250K, which is a fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was called what? The Domination?
I think so. It's Mission Domination, something like that. But he got it renamed to 250K. But that's my number 8. That was the biggest prize fund in the history of the PBA Tour. So I'm going to give that one to Mika. And then, unfortunately, Doherty just that he'll always be synonymous with that.
I like it.
All right. So that's number 8. What about 7? Give me one. Give me another one.
1996 Tournament of Champions.
Is that the Double D? So getting back to Dave Arnold again.
Yeah.
Mr.
That show is in there. I loved arena finals.
Yep.
And there were certain bowling balls I loved during that age that I couldn't throw, and I wanted to track synergy.
You wanted a synergy.
With more than like anything. I wanted to track synergy. And that was when balls were still really violent and whippy down lane.
And that synergy was a hockey stick.
Yeah, that thing went that thing went sideways.
Yep.
And Double D on that show, man, was just as cool as can be. And again, I seem to have a thing for the guys running the ladder. And I also had to pay some homage to the late, great Double D. But
yeah,
that show always sticks out in my brain just because of the sick, dominant performance of Double D on that show using one of the best-looking balls ever made.
Yeah. Who else was there? Was Romick, Brian Goebel, Wiseman. He threw a lion.
Yeah, there were a lot of good balls in that show.
Fire Quantum.
Mm-hmm. Lion, Fire Quantum, Original Danger Zone, and a T2. Wearing what shirt?
An Aftershock. So yes. I guess Columbia must have paid him a little bit more.
Who leads? I'm sorry, this is not against Dave Arnold.
Go for it.
First off, I disagree with anybody that chooses to wear khaki on the top and the bottom at the same time. I don't like. I get wearing all brown if you work for UPS, but I don't get wearing lunch bag khaki on the top and the bottom. And that morning, Dave Arnold woke up and he said, "Man, I'm going to be on national TV today. I led the Tournament of Champions. I am so excited to get dressed for the show. I'm going to an arena in front of a live crowd of 4,500 people. There's X amount of people watching primetime ABC. I'm going to wear my khakis with my blue and white lens, with a khaki Columbia Aftershock shirt with light blue lettering, and you can't even make it out if you're not a bowler. And it's also not even going to be the same company as the ball I'm throwing because I'm on a different shirt staff and I'm not on a ball contract staff. Anyway, I feel like he deserved to lose that tournament because of how hideously he dressed for the occasion.
Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Hey, we tell it how it is. We don't hold back here. That was my thing. We don't want to hold back when we're on here, so it's open forum.
You got to look. If you look good, you feel good.
Agreed.
And then you bowl good.
And he did bowl good until the 10th. He squeezed it up in the 10th.
He really did. And Dave was fortunate to bowl even 2-10 against him because Double D finally looked lost that game too.
Yeah. Yeah, he was in his own carry down that game. It looked like. I'm going to give you my number 7, and you had already mentioned it because you picked the wrong one. The 2010 Tournament of Champions.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
That's the one. So we talked about Liz making the show, finishing second. Let's go to one of the girls from our alma mater, Morehead State, Kelly Coolwick, winning the Tournament of Champions. She won 2 matches or 3 matches on this show. I think it was 2 matches, right?
I believe it was 2. I didn't watch this show very much.
Okay.
So I don't have all the particulars of it.
Yeah,
obviously I'm aware of it, but
I mean, she beat Barnes. We know she beat Barnes for the title.
throwing a mission.
And she bowled a big game. I think she bowled like 260 in the title match. She bowled a big game. And Barnes was just, you could tell Barnes was fried.
Oh, sure. Of course. I mean, yeah. I mean,
so,
everybody.
That was the turning of the guard there. You know, and I believe the next year was the tour trials year. No, I'm sorry. The tour trials was before that, way before that, right? Well, she had qualified. She got through tour trials one year.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
She was the only
I think that was
woman to get through? Yeah, that was a while back.
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, so she belonged there. You know, and I believe after that she got the ESPN the body issue. Like she put bowling on the map, and that's what bowling needed at that time. Was we're kind of going downhill. The PBA was in shambles, whatever you want to call it. Great for her.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, there it is. So there we go. Thank you, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, John, give me another one.
I will go with the 1995 Flagship Open.
All right, that's the Wiseman show.
Yes.
In the arena throwing a code red.
Yes. That was... So I had watched Danny Wiseman for the first time ever the week before at the Tums Classic.
Are we reading this one here, John? I never knew this. Barnes had to throw Columbia on TV. He used something else from the other 3 brands for the field. I thought Barnes was exclusively with Columbia when he made that show in the Tournament of Champions. We'll have to let Jeremy tell us more about that. But continue.
Yeah, let me know. What was I saying?
You first watched Danny Wiseman. This is the first time you watched Wiseman.
Oh, yeah. It was at the Tums Classic the week before. D'Entremont was throwing an NRG. Wiseman still code red. And Jack Jurek was throwing the Violet Quantum.
And he beat Traber Dave in the title match.
Also throwing a Violet Quantum. So
Traber Dave, yep.
Wiseman, I had never seen such a beautiful game. So he makes the show at the Flagship in the arena. And what I loved about that show is, again, the ball. I'm a bowling ball whore, dude. That first match, Mike Edwards is using a blue
Omega.
I'm at some point I'm gonna need you to take like 5 minutes and cover me while I go get something to show you.
Yes, I know what you're gonna get me, so yes, I can do that for you. And okay. Walter was in that first match too.
Yeah, and
Walter was like on the side of the ball, like he was just throwing a suitcase up, like not
a true knuckleball suitcase that hit the lane and stopped and rolled. And it's crazy to me that he didn't 8-10 every single shot that he threw.
Oh my God, his ball hit like a feather. Terrible.
Right.
But he was literally right here.
But now you got that arena. You got Edwards with the sky blue ball. I'm so weird when it comes to colors. You got Walter Ray throwing the Violet Quantum. In comes Wiseman throwing that code red. And after Eddie leaves the 6-7 in the first frame and misses it, goes all the way to the wall. Wiseman shoots 278. Eddie's got to get up and strike out to beat him. He gets up and throws the first 2.
Ace
then
the
he
first
leaves,
two.
and then he fucking gasses one up the lane and he leaves double wood for the 2-8 and loses 278, 277.
That was a good show.
Eddie is the reason in one shot why Danny won that title in the fashion that he did.
Agreed.
You want to talk about swing lube and everything freeing up and feeling like everything has to go your way? That's the
That was
moment you
it.
need.
All right. I'm going to give you another one here. I'm going to finally go into a different era here. I'm going into the 90s. One of my favorites, the 1994 True Value Open. So
One of
there's
the
a
most
lot
memorable.
there's a lot of stories about this telecast. Duke was on a heater like nobody's ever seen in 94. He won the opening show in the Delco, beating Bob. He beat Robert. He won the Choice Hotels. He did not. He won the JP, but that was after the True Value.
Correct.
Duke rewrote the record books that week. He averaged. I can't remember what he averaged, but
if you, I can't remember when they interview him on. Oh yeah, in the opening of the show,
it was
they
the
show
opening of the
you
show.
they show you his blocks and his average totals. Somewhere in the very beginning of the show, it shows you all the records that were broke that week for, I think, 18 games, 24 games, 42 games.
And let's take a look here, because I'm going to pull this one up for us here.
Mm-hmm.
He rewrote the record books that week. John,
You do that.
What did he throw in that show, John? Really quick.
Purple Beast.
Yeah,
and he was wearing a black Champions Dragon shirt.
Yeah, I mean, a dragon shirt. Come on.
Yeah,
dude,
where did that come from? I'm gonna go get that thing to show the guests while you're pulling up the show.
All right, you do that. So I'm going to pull this up here for everybody. But this was unbelievably one of the greatest displays of bowling there was. I'm going to share the screen here, and we can all take a look here of what Norman did this week. And let's take a look here, shall we? We'll pop this open. We're going to share the screen, and let's play it.
He's the tour's yearly earnings leader from Edmond, Norm Duke.
So this is the opening of the True Value Open.
He is. My colleague, Nelson Burton Jr., is on the approaches with him at this moment. Bo?
Thank you, Chris Schenkel. The True Value has historically been one of the highest scoring bowling tournaments on the PBA Tour. And this year was no exception. However, one individual supplied most of the fireworks. Check out these scores. Round 1, round 2, round 3 averaged a fabulous 272. 18 games,
that's sick.
A 260 average, eclipsing Earl Anthony's record of almost 2 decades. And finally, the 42-game record for the PBA. He beat Tom Baker's record of 247. He averaged 248, and that man is our tournament leader, Norm Duke.
Looks badass with beard, too. Listen to what he has to say here, folks.
I mean, everybody says this impossible.
Well, it was just a dream week, you know. The guys that I was bowling with the first round just kept saying, there's something shining on you, because I was carrying the off hits and everything was going my way, and it just kept going. And I'm just hoping I got one more game left.
Well, 272 average, you can only miss one frame in a whole game, but you must have struck every ball.
It seemed that way. It really did. And boy, I just, you know, I'll probably reflect on it in a couple of weeks, but right now it's just, I can't think about it. I got to go over here and finish the job.
There you go. So Duke, I mean, unbelievable. 272 he averaged for the third block. So I just showed the numbers, John. He averaged 272 in round 3. 272.
For how many games?
That was for 8 games.
Right? I did it for 7. Shit. I was like, I almost got Duke.
What? I believe
if it was in qualifying, it would have been 6.
6,
If it was in match play, it would have been 8.
And people don't know this either. Thank you for the bill for this one. Yes, that is the year he shot 900. I don't care what anybody says. The man shot 900 at Carolier.
10 points if you can tell me what ball he threw for that 900 and how he threw it.
He threw a firestorm. He threw a red firestorm. He ended. I want to say he ended the block playing like throwing the high hard one up the gutter. And then game 1 of the night block, he was just curving the hell out of it.
Very good.
All right. Well, I was there, so yeah. So let's. So
It's an
that
impressive
show,
memory.
we didn't really have good childhood, John. We lived this crap growing up. So
That's true.
So Duke's show in Peoria, he bowled Brian Goebel for the title. Goebel had beat Eugene McCune. He beat Randy, and then he gets to Duke. So Duke goes hit, flat 10, all of them. Goebel has the front 9. Duke gets up in the 9th. What happens, John? What happens in the 9th? One of the greatest mental strategies I've ever seen in bowling. Yeah. And not even in bowling, but in that spot on national TV in the title match with 2 frames to go.
To have that much confidence to know you're going to throw the strikes. Like
he knew
he was going to strike out in the 3rd frame.
Yeah.
And when he got up in that 9th, he double fouls. He realizes how long Goebel's got to sit simply because he's bowling the 9th and 10th.
Yep.
So it's an extra shot altogether. Then he goes up and he not only he pretends to slip or stick, but he continues to step over the line to the point that the light goes off, even to do a little bit more head games for Goebel. Then he double bucks. He does it a second time on that wing.
I got oil on my shoe. Oil on my shoe.
He virtually added a minute to Brian Goebel's downtime.
And then hand swell or something? Absolutely.
And that week, tell him, Mike, AC Delver, True Value, added
200,000 for a perfect game.
So now not only does Goebel need to get up and throw the first hit to win the tournament, he needs to get the first hit to win the tournament and then throw 2 more for 200,000.
So he had a $240,000 10th frame, basically.
Yes, he did.
And hey, you said it best. Duke knew he was striking out, but I don't think that I've ever seen anybody that confident. No, I don't care what they're bowling on either, knowing that I can balk, take a 3-minute break, and I know I'm going to go pack. Now you have to beat me.
Right.
That is the greatest head game I've ever seen before.
Yeah, it's the truest reaction I think I've ever seen out of Duke. When he looked up and he had his teeth grit at the end of that show, he genuinely could not believe that Goebel threw the first strike in the 10th. He couldn't believe that his formula did not work and that he did not win that tournament. I could tell that one really, really, really crushed him.
That's an old school action like play there. That's just old school bowling right there.
Mm-hmm.
He had all the tricks in his bag, and then we'll show it to you, John, because
right after Goebel throws the 10th.
I'm going to do this one because this is what Duke had all year in 94. Let's take a look.
The strike on his first shot.
Just think that you shoot 280 for the title, and your opponent can get up for the first hit and beat you. I mean, are you serious?
280.
Like, what's going through his head sitting on the bench? Like, I just shot 280, and this guy in his hideous shirt, by the way. You know, you like the shirts.
Of course, I've never seen.
Yeah, they had some really shitty shirts.
Next to you, this man needs to throw a strike to win the tournament in 3 for $200,000. Here we go.
And look at Duke. That's gamesmanship right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can't believe he lost that tournament.
No, and that's why I'm going to give that one. That is a great, great telecast because I'm sure Duke's been asked the question 1,000 times. 100% did it on purpose. There's no doubt in my mind he did that. He didn't do it on purpose.
I think that would be the general consensus of everybody. Whether he did or didn't, whether he says he did or he didn't, line.
I'm sorry. How does this stiff get paid $71 million for 4 years? Taiwan Walker.
I don't even know who that is.
He played for the Mets this year. All right, enough about him. Anyway, so that's going to be my my number 6. I want to know what this gift is. I know what you're going to show us.
Oh yeah,
I know.
I'm also keeping an eye on that clock, so I want to make sure. Are you trying to get through our top 5 as well?
Yeah, but I think you know what. I want to. I'm going to skip one, but I know this one is on your list.
Okay.
And I think this may be like your number 2 or 3, if I had to guess. This was my number 4. So I'm gonna skip one here. I had the last show at St. Clair, the '97 St. Clair. Yep, that's exactly what I knew you were pulling out of the bag. Yep,
new in box too.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a pin. I was going to say another one on my list is the '97 St. Clair, the last ABC show. Weber played 2, Stone and 9, 2 9s lose to Walter. They were impossible too on that show.
Red Meteor, JD style.
Yep. All right. So
yeah, why would they make them so obnoxiously hard for the farewell PBA show on ABC?
So I talked to Doug about this last year, and Doug said that there was actually a fire at St. Clair, and that they were all messed up. The approaches were terrible. The surface was bad. Nobody knew that there was a fire in the building, so that's what kind of made them even more impossible there.
Somebody told me that too, and I forgot about it until you said it just now.
All right, so that was one of mine. I want to give you another one. This is my number 4, and I'm just going to say the tournament. This has more meaning for you, and I know some of the stories of it. You know a lot more than we do. The '94 National Championship.
Oh yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, I knew it was on your list. There's 2 things. There's 2 things about this show that are significant. One is Dad, and 2 is Traber Dale, Traber Dave. I personally think the bigger story was Dad over the Trabers.
Yeah, it was.
It was. So yeah, Dave Traber looks like a pear, by the way.
He didn't on that show.
No,
it kind of happened overnight. Dave went from being like kind of athletic to
a pear.
Yeah, a pear.
I will say this: I think Traber Dale is a better player than Traber Dave was.
Dale is certainly the more precision, accuracy of the 2
Very
players.
Accurate bowler. Never won on the national tour.
Didn't bowl much either. He
was
happy with his job working at the J.C. Penney catalog warehouse.
Yes, and then he made pickles, as we learned later on in his career.
Yes.
But he also, I mean, dude, when Dave Traber had his trick, he struck a lot. But I think, like you said, precision-wise, Traber Dale, much better player. Even though he never won on the national tour, didn't really bowl that much. And he's probably looked at it like, okay, here's this bigger guy. He's a stereotypical bowler, like a big kind of, not being mean, but sloppier guy.
Wears a big robo arm.
Big robo arm. He has 6 revs. I play the track. But that man can split the seam like nobody's business.
I agree.
Now, I'm going to let you have the floor with Dad.
At that time, Dad had gotten a phone call from an agent of somebody, and turns out that Kirk Douglas, Michael J. Fox, Nancy Travis, and Phil Hardman wanted to make a movie called Greedy. And it was about an aspiring pro bowler who had never really made it, and he's running out of money, and he's got a very rich uncle, and his wife is working the PBA truck or the ABC truck for the bowling shows. And in that movie, Michael J. Fox needed to not learn how to bowl, but learn how to look like a bowler. And my dad was going to have a cameo in the movie for being his coach. So for about a month right there in 93, 94, when they were filming Greedy, Michael J. Fox stayed at our house. And during that time, my dad, knowing he was going to be in cinema, or even if it was for a split second, he had already known that the camera adds 10 or 12, 10, 15 pounds. And he's like, well, I'm getting in my late 40s now. At that time, he was 47, 48. And he said, I'm going to start training a little bit. I'm going to start getting myself in shape for this movie. So he's getting himself in shape for the movie and this and that. And next thing you know is all of a sudden his body works like he's 30 years old again. And he has a fantastic tournament at the National Championship at Imperial Lanes in Toledo. And he qualifies 5th. And the next day on the show, He bowls Eric Forkel the first game, but everybody knows that this is the show that Dad wins the $100,000 for 300 in match 2 against Walter Ray for the 7 televised ABC 300 of all time, and only the third for the $100,000 prize, along with Pete McCordick and Bob Benoit. But what happened was Dad was using virtually for the entire week a Purple Rhino Pro. And when they got to TV day, the lanes were twice as slick, and everybody was confused. If y'all haven't seen the show, not only did my dad bowl 300 on that show, he's also the only bowler to bowl 200 on that show. I don't know if anybody knows that.
No, I never realized that.
Yeah, Forkel 181, Walter 193. Then Dad loses 193, 188, and then the title match is
he stoned the 9 to lose to Traber.
Right.
What a shot that was, too.
But I can't remember what lanes they were on, but in practice session, there's like maybe a few minutes left. And earlier that week, Ray Edwards with Brunswick had drilled my dad a Forest Green Quantum, and Dad left it in the locker room because the ball hooked out of the building for the whole week. And Ray Edwards says, "Where's that Forest Green that I drilled you?" And Dad goes, "It's in the locker. It's not the right ball." He goes, "It wasn't the right ball this week. It might be the right ball right now." Ray has to sprint to the paddock, which is all the way at the other end of the building, picks up the ball, brings it back. Dad gets 2 shots in warm up. Ray says, "Move 5 or 6 right, get it here, yada yada." He gets 2 shots in practice. He says, "Start there, use that ball." My dad hates on the minute, like on the spot, quick decisions that have to be made. My dad needs strategic planning if he's even going to consider changing something outside of his game plan. It's just the way he is. Yeah. My dad would rather fight to go 10 over with the incorrect ball on the off chance of going 300 under by picking the wrong ball, forgetting that he could go 300 over. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He starts with that ball, and Forkel bowls poorly, and my dad goes spare turkey, and bowls 230 with that Forest Green Quantum. And so he got his legs under him, and sure enough, he popped it off the second game. But to this day, if Ray Edwards isn't there to go get that ball, I think my dad is another guy that bowls a 190 or a 2-0 grinding on that show. And the prize fund wasn't very good that year at the Nationals. I mean, the top prize was $27,000, and I remember third place only being $8,000 for third, whereas I was used to the majors paying around like 15 or 20 for third place. Yeah. So that's a memorable one for sure.
That was a good one. That made both of our lists there. And then obviously the only time in the history of PBA where brothers bowled for the title that I can ever remember. I don't think there's ever been an instance where brothers made a show and bowl for the title on the telecast.
Yeah, and they couldn't be more opposite of one another. Dave was loud, kind of obnoxious, talks shit to his opponents and the pins, and wears brighter colors. Like he had like a checkered violet, white, and blue shirt on in that show, while Dale doesn't say a word, and he's just in all dark colors, throwing a urethane rhino at spares. And
you know what's weird too? Like I don't have a sibling. I know you have Jamie, obviously, but if I had a brother and I'm bowling my brother for the national championship on national TV, and my brother's doing that, like yelling, screaming, and I'm on the bench, dude, I'm punching him right in the throat. Like, how do you do that to your brother, right?
Oh no, I would laugh at it, and then if my sister was bowling me on national TV and she came at me like that, I'd come at her 10 times harder.
All right, so then we'll take the national championship off.
Okay.
My number 2 show, John.
Okay.
And I know you have this one on yours too.
I'll let you know.
The 96 Flagship Open.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many spares were shot on that show as a whole? 8? 7?
There was 1 in the first match.
1 in the first match.
4 in the second.
So 5.
The third had 2.
Technically 3. Technically, well, and I'm going to talk about that in a second.
It still doesn't change the amount of spares shot at, just the amount of attempts shot at it.
Okay, correct.
So we got 1 in the first match. We got 4 in the
4 in the second match.
We have 2 in the third match.
2 in the third match.
2 in the third match.
Yes, 2 in the third match.
In the title match, there was 3.
Now, what did they put down at Erie that day?
Forget about what they put down, dude. How do 5 completely different makeups, all have equal success?
3 lefties, 2 righties on both sides of the lane.
Right. Parker curving a danger zone. Parker was not throwing a danger zone straight. He was curving it.
Yep.
My dad was curving and banking a fire quantum. John Mazza was smooth rolling a synergy like 5 inside of Dad and Parker and more up the lane.
Learn was just in curving the swirl.
Yeah.
And then there's Randy kind of almost in between where Bob was with the danger zone.
Right.
And he had the worst look out of everybody on the show, Randy.
And also the only 8 count.
Yes, he left the 2-8.
Only 8 count on the show. That's that's something that goes missed about that show, because Learn shoots 11.29 for 4 games on that show, which equates to 282.5 average, right?
Yep.
I'm doing my math right?
Yeah.
So the other combined bowlers, my dad bowls 279 the first game, Mazza shoots 268 the second game and loses. Parker Bone loses with 279, and then
Randy bowled 258, I think.
257.
257. What was the average loss on that?
That's 1083 for 4. that means a 270.75 average for his 4 combined opponents, and nobody got him.
See you later. Thanks for playing.
You should elaborate now and talk about the other thing that you were talking about this show.
So in the semifinal match, that was the Parker Bob Learn match, and when nobody catch, and I didn't know this until maybe like 3 years ago. 2-3 years ago. So Learn goes hit flat 10 basically in the second frame. And he goes to shoot the spare and he misses it.
Mm-hmm.
Learn's at the foul line saying something caught him.
At about the point the ball crossed the arrows, you see him look off.
He knew he was missing it at the arrows.
Yes.
And he looks over at was it Johnny Campos probably? Was Kirk wasn't the tournament director. It was probably Johnny Campos.
Johnny Campos, yep.
Yeah, Johnny Campos. Hey, what's going on here? So as the story goes, and Bo didn't know this in the booth. I don't think anybody in the arena and the viewers didn't know this. They let Parker decide if he can reshoot the spare. And Parker, being the nicest guy on the planet, goes, sure. Shoot the spare over. They
Really?
spot it. If this was on the Brunswick site, like a couple of years ago, yeah, they did
I certainly believe it. I mean, it's something Parker would do.
Yeah, and nicest guy in the world. Parker lets him shoot the spare. He makes the 10 pin on the reshoot, and then proceeds to shoot 280. Parker bowls 279. Thanks for playing. There's your third place check. Now, your father told me that before it became like public knowledge, when Bob and Parker did a little video thing for Brunswick on the website a couple years ago. Your father said to me, sitting at the bar at Howell Lanes, and I quote, I will never forget this line. My mother could miss that spare. I'm not letting my own mother shoot the spare over. You opened.
100%.
And yeah.
100%.
Parker is just so nice. Let Bob shoot it over, and Bob decided to shoot 280.
You know what I'd like to ask, Parker?
What's that?
If you were anywhere else other than an arena finals in Bob Learn's hometown, would you have let him shoot it? I think Parker may have at that point said, nah, man, I'm not going to have the first ever PBA interference call be against me at the highest level. No, I'm not going to allow that. No.
But here's my question. Why did Campos let Parker make the call?
I don't know, man. That's pretty deep. That's stuff that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
But that's
I don't care who you are. If I'm bowling you and you say to me, hey, interference, does he let him shoot it over? Absolutely not. 9 out. Sorry.
No.
9 out. Sorry.
It's 9 out.
9 out. Bro. And then obviously we know.
And of course it turns into a feat that will never, ever, ever be duplicated ever again. It just will not happen. It cannot happen anymore.
No.
You know, that's the thing people miss a lot about real quick. When people talk about honor scores and 800s and shit and all these astronomical numbers, the one thing that always stays consistent with the exception of a few, this guy in Des Moines, Iowa, 289, 300, 300, 889, or this guy over here, blah, 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 868, this guy, blah, blah. They're always throwing the same ball all 3 games, Mike. Always. Because people that shoot astronomical numbers are usually on conditions that allow them to stay in virtually the same spot for at least 3 games in league. And they were on a house pattern on that show that held up really awesomely, and there was never even a thought about changing balls by anybody on that TV show.
Agreed. I'm going to pull up a stat here. This was shared this week as well, since you're talking about honor scores. John, give me your number 1 show, and then I'm going to work on this. Give me your number 1 show. What do you think was number 1?
On my list, what do I think number 1 is? The 1996 Touring Players Championship.
That's the Parker Albee one.
That is the Parker Albee one. One of the most iconic title matches I have ever watched, with an electric crowd.
And that was in the height of Parker's just taking it on the chin phase, basically.
Absolutely.
He was snake bitten 230, 240 every time, and he would lose. Getting back to the honor scores really quick, John. Check this stat out.
Okay.
I don't know if we can.
I saw this recently. I watched whatever show this is recently.
So I don't know if we can see it, but it's very hard to see. I'm sorry for it.
I see 3,030. In the 1950s, there were 3,030 recorded 300 games. And now it looks like in the 2000s, and again, I think this is like mid-2000s when they came out with the stat, 353,000, which is probably 700,000 now that we're in 2020.
Easily.
2022, whatever fucking year it is. Sorry. I always got to get at least one F-bomb on your show, Mike.
It's okay. No, I don't mind. It's okay. So go back to Parker. So that show was Milton, Pennsylvania's Andy Nyer.
Throwing the original Wolf.
Bob
and he needed a haircut. He had bad neck hair. Andy, I'm sorry. I had to mention it. Sorry.
Andy needed to go see the barber. Bob Learn throwing an Ultra C.
Yeah, and
then
on that show, what's so funny, Mike, is that was Learn's next show after the record set in Erie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he started with a turkey in the first game.
Yes.
Against Nyer. And I'm like, oh my God, he's going to do it again.
Marshall said it too in the booth. Like, can Bob go back-to-back 300s? The next match was, I'm drawing a blank on this one. So Learn beat Nyer. Who was in the next match?
That's a great question. It's skipping my mind too right now.
Because Parker was the 2 seed.
God, it wasn't a green ball. Can you go to the? Do you have the show? I can pull it up.
We can pull this one up here.
It's one of my favorite shows, and I'm drawing a blank who bowled third because I'm so into the title match.
1996 TPC. Let's take a look here, John. Now, and Andy and I are wearing the 3D shirt, by the way.
Yes.
The black 3D shirt. Why are we drawing a blank on who was the second in the second match?
You know, I don't really recall. It's going to be something stupid, and I can't remember if no, it wasn't a red wolf going down the lane. It has to be, it's not like somebody odd like Mark Williams throwing a Sage Quantum. Why does that sound right now?
No. Oh,
Steve,
I got it. Steve Jaros.
Steve Jaros.
The man who should be in the Hall of Fame that's not in the Hall of Fame, Steve Jaros.
Correct.
And then it goes to Parker. Parker bowls like 260 at Learn. Learn moved right eventually. He was curving it, then he decided to throw the high hard one.
Yeah.
Snuck out against Jaros.
And again, like I said earlier, at that time, Jaros, Parker, and Albee, all 3 of them are Brunswick staffers.
Members. Yep.
And I'm pretty sure Jaros was throwing a T2 on that show. And
no, Jaros threw that Quantum. He had Sage Quantum.
He threw the Sage Quantum. I remember the Sage Quantum. I forgot the bowler. But he's wearing the Combat Zone shirt. Parker's wearing the Nailhead Zone Black Ice shirt and throwing a Black Ice. And Albee's throwing the Dangers or throwing the DZ2. And he's wearing the Danger Zone shirt. Again, it was always so cool to see multiple staffers representing their brands in every single way possible on the show. Whether it be for incentive money or not, I don't care. But I always love when they would wear the different stuff that the company had to offer. But that show in that arena, all be getting up in that 10th frame, man. That second slow rolling messenger with the iconic falling to the ground after you're legging it out, hoping it falls. That was just a very, very memorable show to me.
He's the man. I would put my life in his hands if I had anybody in the world to throw a strike. For my life, I'd put the ball in Mike Alby's hands.
Yeah, me too.
Nobody. I know everyone said Roth was great. I would give the ball to Alby in a heartbeat.
I give it to Alby too.
And Parker just looks so defeated. Like, what do I have to do? I just bowled 100 over for 2, and I'm not going to win.
You know who I'd give the ball to throw a strike for my life today?
I'm going to guess a 2-hander if I'm thinking of. I would have thought Simonson, but I guess I'm off on this one.
I'm going to go with Dick Allen.
Really?
Yes.
Most underrated bowler in the world, by the way.
Did you hear what they said? I think that he said if he were to win the major, the THB tattoo on his forearm, he was going to add an M above it, so it meant major title holder.
Bowler. I like that
title holder. Yeah.
All right. I got my last one for you, bud.
You go right ahead, and I think all of my multiples have already been covered by you. Let me double check.
We had the AC.
No, I had extra ones. I had extra ones that I saved for myself.
What, honorable mentions?
Yeah. No, we're good here.
I'm going way back on this one. John, what's the most iconic picture in the history of the PBA?
Picture?
Yeah, what's the most iconic picture, iconic moment?
Don Johnson.
The 1970 Firestone.
The 10-pin.
The 10-pin. I think that show is my number one show. Barry Asher, Jim Stefanich, 2 Hall of Famers, Durbin, Hall of Famer, Ritger, Hall of Famer, Johnson, Hall of Famer, Dick Ritger, best player ever to not win a major, by the way.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that.
20 titles, never won a major. Best player ever to never win a major.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
And ironically, I never saw that show in its entirety.
Really?
Never. I've only seen Don Johnson's 10th frame.
Yeah, I actually watched it today in color. Asher Stefanich was the first match. My God, though. Ricker bowled, I want to say 250, 260 in the title match. And Don ran him over. But that is
so they were tough on that show.
Tough with rubber.
I'm joking. They were obviously not tough.
But I think that's the most iconic scene in the history of the PBA Tour.
Yeah, it sure is.
It's Johnson just falling flat on his face at the line. And
it goes to show you how much inflation has changed things, because that was a $10,000 ball plus a new Mercury.
And a Cougar. And what people don't realize is this as well. Johnson had made the show the past 3 years in the Tournament of Champions. Runner-up, and he finished, I think, 5th. And he finally won. Now let's go to 1971. Who won the TSC in 71, John?
I'm going to have to give that to Johnny Petraglia.
And who did he beat to win the Tournament of Champions in 71?
Well, he beat Don Johnson, Mike.
How great is that Johnson made the show almost 4 or 5 consecutive years of Riviera? Second, I want to say 5th, winner, runner-up.
Yeah, that's a pretty good stretch right there.
Yeah, and that's my number one favorite, best show in the history of the PBA. Just because of its Tournament of Champions, he had a chance for 10 grand, and just the way he collapsed on the floor on the approach. And you see everybody running up to him, getting him up, hugging him, almost as good as when Litchie ran to Dad when he shot 300.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Litchie almost tackled him when he shot 300.
He sure did. Well, the funny thing about that, and I'll leave it here for as far as my last story.
Yep.
The night before, they had all gone out to dinner. A bunch of the Brunswick guys, and Litchie was at the dinner, and obviously my dad was there. And at that dinner, they were talking about college. They were talking about how much it would cost, how much they would need to save up for college to put me and Jamie through school and this and that. And the numbers seemed insurmountable. And Litchie was like, No, if you need 200, 250 grand, you just got to start with the first 100, John. This thing goes, for instance, tomorrow, what is it, 100 grand if you bowl 300? So go bowl 300. Just go throw 12 shots and collect your money.
That's fantastic.
That was the first thing that Litchie said to my dad when he hugged him. Like, are you kidding? We just talked about it. The way Litchie is.
Oh, yeah.
But
and then Dad got a call from the White House as well.
Yeah. That was a great story.
We could go on an hour about that, but and I'll give you another quick little fact about tournament champions.
Go on.
Marshall Holman won the tournament champions twice.
Yes, he did.
He's only made the show twice in tournament champions. Both times bowled for the title.
Really?
Never. Justin and I interviewed him a couple years ago, and he never bowled well at Riviera. The 2 times he made the show, he bowled for the title on both times. Wow. Interesting. That's a pretty good list we came up with tonight, Ped.
Those are pretty iconic shows, and again, I can't find anything really for me that sticks out massively in the 2000s as much as it did in the mid 90s for me. Just the nostalgia, the bigger crowds, the less variety and emphasis on equipment. It was more about there's oil in the middle of the lane, they're dry on the outside. This guy's going up and at him. This guy's going around him. Each company has like 3 or 4 bowling balls. They're all bowling on the same shit. They all and everybody threw it. It was just a time where at least everything was kind of. You really had to be good, man, to beat those guys every week. 42
They had
games.
So much talent on tour back then. That's why the senior tour is so good now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can even go back to the 80s and whatnot, like the 87 National. Ozio.
Was that Randy?
Yeah, Ozio, Weber, Randy, Marshall going for the Triple Crown, and Randy had the front 10 at him, and Amleto. 5 Hall of Famers.
What a all-star lineup on that show.
Exactly. I mean, there's so many. You know what? And this is another one, more recent. Which one? The 12, the Who Do You Think You Are, I Am at Cavalier.
That's got to be what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah, no, it is. Was he followed up with 2012? I mean, that's another great show.
It was a great show. It's a shame that the greatness of the show was stolen by a comment that was meant to be a certain way and slipped out the wrong way in the heat of the moment. I truly believe that in that moment, getting up and dead flushing 10 in the pit to win by a pin for your 5th U.S. Open or whatever it was, I truly believe that what he meant to say in that moment was, whatever you think you are, I am.
Yeah.
As if to say, I am the fucking best in the world.
Yeah. And I am going to see Pete this weekend.
Send him my best and tell him I miss him.
Of course. So really quick, I said I was going to do a giveaway on this show.
That's right.
So the giveaway is simple. I am bowling the holiday doubles sponsored by Hammer this weekend at what center hosted the last ABC show, John?
The last ABC show.
Yeah, what center?
Oh, you're bowling at St. Clair?
I am bowling at St. Clair.
Oh, cool.
Well, not even St. Louis. It's we bowled in college. It was in Illinois. It's right over the border. It's right across the border from St. Louis to Illinois.
Yes.
O'Fallon, Illinois. It's where McHenry bowls.
O'Fallon.
Yeah, that's it. So I am bowling there this weekend. I'm bowling Friday morning, 8 a.m. On the fine china of St. Clair Bowl. They are not making them hard. They are walling them up. So I'll do a giveaway, a free Coolwick jersey, and I'll post this on the group page too. Guess my 8-game total for qualifying.
Okay. Can I guess?
Yeah, you can guess to closest. Price is Right rules always play. Closest to the total without going over will win the jersey. So even is 1,600 for 8. So guess your number. I will make a post on the page, and closest without going over will win the jersey. You're giving me a lot of credit going 78 over. That's a lot for me.
This was 8 games.
8 games. Oh, you give me 278 over. Why am I thinking evens 1,800? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I didn't scumbag you that hard.
I thought it's been a long day. It's been a very, very long day.
I mean, I hope you don't go 78 over. I hope you go.
If I go 78 over, I'm going to go to the top of the Gateway Arch and jump.
You ever been in that thing?
No, I'm going to go there this weekend. That is my
Mike,
plan.
do you have claustrophobia at all?
No.
Okay.
No.
Have you ever seen Men in Black?
And not in a long time.
I just want to prep you for this. Do you remember the scene in the very beginning of the first one where Will Smith actually goes and takes the test to become a Men in Black?
Yeah.
Remember the chair he sits in, that little egg thing, and he can't figure out a way to rest the paper anywhere?
Correct. That's
when
what
you
the
go
arch is like.
When you go to the top of the St. Louis Arch, there is something that's shaped like those egg chairs, and there's 5 chairs in a little cubicle that you have no idea how 5 people fit in this thing. And the way the arch goes, you're sitting in this little egg circle like this all the way to the top of the arch with 4 people around you. There's no windows, no nothing. And as you're going, it clicks so it can go up the arch in that rainbow shape. And it clicks like this, like click, 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 the whole way going up the arch. It is 10 times scarier than being on the top of the arch on the inside. Just letting you know.
Well, I'm looking forward to it now.
Yeah, it's really shitty. The ride up. Up. Hopefully they've made some advancements since I was in the arch. Like 15
I've never been to the
ago.
arch. I'm looking forward to the clicking going to the top of the arch. And
it's interesting to say the least.
I will be frequenting a local casino while I'm out there as well.
Very nice.
I'll be
There's
seeing
a couple nice boats there, like riverboat casinos.
I remember one with Mr. Diamond exclusively. We went to.
Excellent.
In our collegiate days, but yeah, that holiday doubles a week. We'll talk about that. Are you going to join me next week, John? Are you available for another episode next week?
Yes.
I want to do next week another top 10 list.
Okay. I'm going to be super crazy prep for this one.
I will give you the topic. You can pick it right now.
Okay.
The top 10 amateurs that never went professional. Or the top 10 one-hit wonders on tour.
I like that.
The one-hit wonders?
Does it have to be one hit, or can they have like 2?
No, you could do a couple, or you could say like the guys that, I don't want to say fizzled out.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
the top 10 guys that but like you kind of shouldn't.
Yeah, I guess you want to call it that.
Let's try this one. Is Bob Vespi one?
See, Vespi won like 4 times though.
Okay,
I wouldn't say that. No, I'm thinking more of. I'll give you one guy.
Like Jason Queen,
Brian Davis.
Oh, like literally one win.
Well, that's okay. Steve Fields.
Okay, like you're talking like real one-hit wonders.
I mean, I'm just throwing names that I would say like Dave Arnold, but Dave Arnold won 2 or 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Toby Contreras, if Charlie Tapp is watching.
He has a win?
He beat Tapp for it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Maybe I'll go with top 10 amateurs never to go pro.
Well, we could do 5 and 5.
Yeah, let me do that because you already mentioned 3 that I would have had on my one-hit wonders list. Like would you
consider Rudy a one-hit wonder, even though Rudy never won on tour?
He's a guy that fizzled out the same way Vespi did. I mean, Vespi won 4 titles, but he was done bowling in 1994. He was only out on tour for 3 years.
Rudy was on tour for 2 years, but he led 2 tournaments though.
Yeah,
second, and 3rd or 4th.
Yeah,
never heard from Rudy again.
Sledgehammers. That's true. It's a tricky subject, but I think we can do it. I think I can find some oddballs. Yeah, let's just stick to that one. Let's do the one-hit wonders or close enough to it.
Yeah, so we'll set some parameters. That'll be next week's topic. I will also recap the holiday doubles. I will post it up. So again, anybody who wants the chance to win the Coolwick jersey, my 8-game totals at the holiday doubles this weekend.
Oh my God. Friday. What's up, Marty? It's good to see you, man. God, I haven't seen Marty since Thursday Night League at Carolier. That's like 20 years we're talking. Holy shit, man. It's good to see you, Marty. I hope all is well. That's how long it's been with Marty. Marty had an X Factor. And while I had an X Factor, I was throwing Storm. That really is 20 years since I've even seen Marty's name. That's so cool. And Charlie, I had no idea you lost to Toby Contreras, man. I'm sorry.
John, why don't you, if you're not doing anything for the evening, go look up that show on YouTube.
I have to wrap Christmas gifts with Rochelle. I'll put it on in the background.
Yeah.
Can you send me which show it is?
Charlie, it was the AC Delco, actually. Go figure. I want to say the 82 or 83 AC Delco.
Okay.
Phil Ringner. See, that's that's a guy that I gave a one-hit wonder to.
Bud Light Championship. Only win. There you go.
Only win. But
you're ruining next week's show.
Okay, but Ringner made that show. Soper made that show.
Yeah.
Tap made the show.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was an 83. Charlie's confirmed an 83. The semifinal match was, oh my God, what the hell was his name? From Boca Raton. Oh my God, what the hell is his name? What the hell is this guy's name? From Boca Raton, Florida. Oh my God. Fuck's this guy's name?
Are we talking about a guy that made the show?
Yes. Show? He won a couple times. Charlie beat him in the semifinal match. What the fuck's this guy's name? I'm drawing a blank.
Boca Raton.
He had a weird name. Oh my God, why am I drawing a blank here?
Are we going like early 80s?
Palmer Fahlgren. Thank you, Charlie.
Palmer Fahlgren. Nice.
Palmer Fahlgren. I couldn't think of the guy's name. And then it was Toby.
Okay.
Watch that show, John. And Toby Contreras looked like he was an acrobat. I don't know how Tap didn't like clothesline him.
Rick Lawrence.
You're ruining next week's show.
Sorry.
We can do this.
Okay.
All right.
We'll find other ones and revisit these.
We'll do this. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, same time. Time will probably be back to normal next week based on what John's availability is for Tuesday.
Yeah, what is normal time? It's normally 4 my time?
It's 4 your time, 7 my time, but we have some scheduling issues today. So we had to make it a little later. But next week we'll do the top 10 one-hit wonders on tour. Rick Lawrence did not win 2 titles. Rick Lawrence won 1 title.
I think he won 2.
Did he? Where did he win 2? Oh, he won in the new
That's
PBA.
What I'm saying. We got to set the parameters here because Rick Lawrence won 2 titles, but like that's still technically it's not a one-hit wonder because he won twice. But it's kind of a one-hit wonder.
Well, Derek made a good point. He goes, "Well, do you consider Mike Edwards?" I don't consider Mike Edwards a one-hit wonder. That's why
it's hard to call him one-hit wonders. It's because I mean Eddie's Jesus. Eddie's bowled for the title a shit ton of times.
Exactly.
Dave Wodka is another one that you can throw in that mix as far as
1 title,
but like veteran player,
easily.
Mike Wolf.
Wolf won a couple times though.
Yeah, I know, but he's also not old enough to retire to ball rep.
Would you consider John Van Hees a one-hit wonder?
At the tour level?
Yes.
By these parameters, yeah. In my heart, no.
Would you consider O'Grady a one-hit wonder?
No.
Why?
That's a little too personal.
Well, no, I get it. I mean, we all have our connection to he made 2 shows. He won the tournament champions. He made 1 on the show. I'm not counting the team stuff and whatnot.
Because he would still be out there if he didn't have to fix more important things first.
Correct. So, no, I get that.
That's why I mean it's like it's so hard for me to say. Like Phil Ringner was a perfect, but even he wasn't because Phil made a bunch of shows.
Phil bowled a lot. He's not a journeyman. Like I don't consider Richie Wolf a one-hit wonder, even though Richie Wolf never won.
Jack Jurek is another one. He won the Tums Classic, and then he won another title in 2011, like 24 years later.
Yeah, and he led the Masters 2 years in a row too.
Right, but
Scroggins would have been another one-hit wonder if sport bowling never happened. You're right.
Mark Scroggins might be a one-hit wonder.
We have to stop because we could go on.
Okay. We have to stop. We're going to stop because Rochelle is going to kill me.
Yep, Rochelle's going to kill John. I got to go do some dinner. Next week we'll be back. Holiday doubles. Guess my 8-game total. I'll post it up. Guys, like the page, like the YouTube channel. Johnny's Straight Up 5 tomorrow. Like him on Facebook. Find him on YouTube. And we'll be back next Tuesday.
And good luck to you at the holiday doubles.
May my ball not have lack of strikeitis this weekend.
Nice.
Goodbye, everybody.
Later.